Hello lovelies, Ellie here, and I am back with a brand new video. If you have been a subscriber to my channel, I thank you so much for returning. For all the newbies, those who are watching a video of mine for the very first time, welcome. I am Ellie. This channel focuses on sewing, style, and vintage, more specifically thrifting when I'm talking about vintage, and a little bit of vintage sewing. So if you would like to learn more about my sewing goals for 2024, stay tuned as we jump in. All right, so we are in the month of January. I am pleasantly surprised that this year is actually going by pretty slow. I'm glad that January is still here because it just felt like before you know it, it was going to be February. So I'm glad that we're actually still in the month of January so I can share my sewing goals for 2024. I love watching everyone's sewing goals that everyone has shared in the sewing community. And I thought, why not hop in, because I have sewing goals of mine. And sometimes it helps to share, to be held accountable for making those goals come true, right? So before we get into the goals, I thought it would be cool if we did a sort of sewing celebrations of 2023. I had a lot of firsts in 2023 with sewing, so I thought, why not celebrate those things, right? I'm doing the silent cheer. Can you tell I used to be a teacher? So let's hop in. The first thing that I have to celebrate for 2023 was doing my very first sewing collaboration with my sewing friend, Creativity by T, Talisha. I love her. I am so happy that we were able to do a sewing collaboration, hopefully the first of many. It was so fun to work with someone that you watch on YouTube and you're inspired to sew even more because of their sewing. So that was a joy to work with her. And I hope, like I said, I hope it's one of many sewing collaborations. It was fun to actually just get out there and actually work on a project with someone else that loves to do what you do, because as most sewers, from what I see, a lot of us don't have friends that sew. I can say in my circle, no one, quite honestly, I don't have anyone in my circle that's creative at all, really. Like, you would think I would like have friends that sew, sing, dance, or draw. Like, no, it's like everyone everyone is pretty what is it, right brained? Are creatives left brain? I don't know, but yeah. So I'm the only one that does something like creative like this. So it was good to finally meet a friend that does the same thing and indulge in that art together. Second thing is definitely celebrating being able to do my first podcast. I was on Black Woman Stitch. And that was fun to actually share like holiday sewing traditions. I really enjoyed that. That was like unexpected at the end of the year. So it was fun to actually get on a podcast. I actually have a goal to do another podcast, but we'll talk about that later. And the next celebration I have is actually committing to 2 sewing collections. So the first sewing collection was my bee collection. This collection took me a year to actually finish and post, because when I first left, so I left the classroom in 2022. If you're interested, you can go back to my why I quit teaching video that I made in 2022, and I talked about why I left teaching, blah blah blah. And I was inspired to do a bee collection because anyone who knows me as a teacher knows my teacher name was Miss B, or later became Miss L, but it was always Miss B somehow, and our classroom theme was bees. And it was not just a classroom theme, it was like a culture. We were Everything was black and yellow related, bee related. Half of my attire that I wore in the classroom was bees. I have so much bee stuff around here. Bee home decor, bee classroom stuff, bee clothing. So yeah, so I thought just to honor my time as a teacher, it would be fun to do a bee collection. That's what I did. I made 9 mates. It was actually 10, but I only posted 9. And that was fun. It was something that I committed to, even though I had to do it like the next year, 2023. It was fun, and I enjoyed that I was able to put a bow on my time as a teacher, put that like last celebration for my time as a teacher. And Miss B, of course, I'll always be Miss B, but yeah, that was fun. Okay, so the second collaboration was actually with Creativity by T. It was our fall collection. That was super fun because fall is my favorite season. We were able to incorporate the things that we love about fall and just catchy fall slogans. It was just everything. And those pieces that I made were actual pieces that I really wanted to make. It wasn't like a thing like, oh, let me try and figure out what to make to get this done. It was like pieces that I really wanted to make and wear. So yeah, I definitely want to celebrate those things before we got into the sewing goals. So now let's fast forward to 2024 and let's talk about sewing goals. So first things first, goals to me are dreams made realistic. Let's just say that. I'm a dreamer naturally, and I know a lot of people stray away from the word dream because sometimes it's so big that we don't make it come true, so we have to make it into a goal. Small goals make dreams, right? So I want to hop into my first sewing goal, and that is to follow a done, not perfect philosophy. So when I say done, not perfect, I mean get these projects done. Like if you look back here, I have 2 projects that are bugging me because these unfinished projects just drive me crazy, and I refuse to put them up. That's why I leave them there, because I need to see them. No more burying unfinished projects in a bucket or a box and I can't see them, and then I have to pull them out 2 years later. We're not doing that in 2024. We have a done not perfect philosophy. Will it be perfect? No. Will it be done? Yes. So with that being said, I plan to double my mates. I was able to make about 30 mates. It was like 29, I think. And this year, I want to double that. And I think so. The reason I didn't have as many mates as I personally thought I would have is simply because a lot of my mates became unfinished projects, became I'll finish this later, became I'm frustrated with this and I don't have no time for it. So let's move on to the next one. Forget this. So it was probably about, I mean, even though I made about 30 mates, I can guarantee you it was probably about 10 to 15 mates that got started, and somehow because the season changed or because something difficult occurred or I didn't have enough this or it got stopped. So I want to just get it done. Okay, next one is what I call my make it fit challenge. Now keep in mind, I don't know if anyone else has been using this terminology. This just came to me. So if someone has has used it before, I didn't know, but for me, it's a make it fit challenge because I thrift a lot. I have a extensive vintage collection, and the sad part about it is about 50% of my vintage collection, if not more, is not wearable. So I told myself to let that stuff go because I'm doing reselling. Let some of the stuff go that I bought for reselling, or stuff that I just didn't get a chance to wear, or stuff that just quite honestly doesn't fit anymore, and that could still be used for someone else that loves vintage as much as I do. But with that being said, I can let that stuff go as far as other stuff I thrift though. I am tired of passing up things that I really, really enjoy but need changes. That is why I fell into sewing in the first place. I was thrifting and I was finding things that were too big or too this or too that, or needed to remove this or needed to add this. And that encouraged me to sew, to learn how to sew. So that's how I started sewing more and more, until I was just making my own things. So I want to get back to that. I really want to hold the philosophy of, it is not you, it is the clothes. It is the clothes, like I said in my last video. Like, at the end of the day, even though we have fun creating and styling, these are just clothes, and they're not meant to make you feel insecure or feel not worthy or feel like you have to change your body to accommodate them. No, make these clothes accommodate you. So that's the philosophy I'm holding right now, is these clothes gotta accommodate me. So that's where we are with that. And Make It Fit Challenge is going to be every year from here on. Next sewing goal is to sew for me and not for trends or approval on social media. And the reason this is a goal is not because it's something I need to necessarily accomplish, but it's something that I need to keep up. I have been very authentic with sewing what I want to sew. If the pattern is 10 years old, I do not care. I'm gonna sew it. If there is no pattern and I'm just winging it, I'm gonna sew it. I'm not going to sew things just so I can put a hashtag up to get more likes, or so people can follow me, or so I could get more eyes on it. Of course, I would love to have, more attention on my gift or whatever. But at the end of the day, quite honestly, I'm a believer, and this is not just a hobby to me. This is my gift. As long as God is seeing it, I really don't care who sees it. Quite honestly, I would love for people to see it, but it's not something that I'm dependent on. So I definitely want to keep that goal in mind when I'm making things, to make it specifically because it's my gift, and I want to do it the way I feel it needs to be done, not based off anything external as far as approval, likes, views, whatever. It really doesn't matter. Okay. The next goal is, and I haven't even been counting them, you guys. We're on my 4th goal. The next goal is documenting more trying. So I tend to post the fabric and the pattern if I'm using the pattern, and then next thing you know, you see the final product. Like, I struggle with posting the middle, like actually documenting what I'm doing to get there. What was the journey? How does it look like when I'm actually sewing the piece, or when I run into something that's a stumble for me, like how I'm modifying in the moment, how I'm changing things for it to look good on me. So I want to do more documenting while trying. Like, of course, we all want that final product, and it's all good to like have the pretty pictures, but I do want to share more of like how I get there. So that is a goal for me, definitely. The next goal is turning my dream mates into finished projects. So this goes along with Done Not Perfect. If you were to see my Pinterest list, I will probably show me scrolling it on the side. My Pinterest wish list is so long that it's ridiculous. And the sad thing is, I have not made one thing on that list. And my reasoning is I feel that it was a long-term goal, like, oh, I'll make this one day. And then when I started sewing with patterns, it got even longer because it was like, well, I'll use all these patterns. And then I forgot to reference my wish list on Pinterest, like all the things that I have been accumulating over the past 10 years. Quite honestly, I started my Pinterest wish list when I was in college. So for me, I want to make sure I'm accessing like my Pinterest wish list and making sure that when I'm ready to sew something, that I put that in the bunch too, that I think to like, oh, let me go on Pinterest and remember that dress that I saw like 7 years ago. Let's make it now. Like, I really want to get to that place, and I don't want to be dependent on patterns. Like I said before, I didn't start sewing with patterns. Patterns are fairly new to me, and even though I enjoy them because they take out I won't say hard work, the work of like actually creating the pattern yourself and doing like self-drafting, like I still miss the creativity that comes with seeing a picture and saying, okay, how can I make this from scratch? Like that's a challenge to me. So all right, we are on sewing goal number 7. Number 7 is filling gaps in my actual wardrobe. I am a creative. With being a creative, I can be a bit scatterbrained. When I see things that I want to make, I'm not thinking about whether I need it in my closet or not. So quite frankly, this year I want to focus on actually looking at my closet, which is full of stuff that I quite honestly don't know how to put together. Sometimes, especially, as a thrifter and stuff and a sewer, you have a lot of statement pieces and you're just like, how do I make this all go together? Because it's all like statement. So I am trying to invest in sewing basics, sewing more pants, because I literally have like 2 or 3 pants that I use that I wear regularly. It has gotten down to that. And this is coming from someone who is a pants person. Like, I have a ton of pants, but due to sizing, due to style, all the pants I have that are sitting at the top of my closet are not getting worn. I'm holding on to them because I'm just like, well, one day when I can fit them, or one day when I want to style them, or one day hasn't come yet. So let's just get rid of them and sew some pants, okay? That's where I am with that. Okay. Next thing is goal 8, I believe. Yeah, is I'm sewing for my son. So my son's name is Parker, and he's like the most brilliant little boy in the whole wide world. And I'm not just saying that because I'm his mommy. And I want to sew more for him, not only just to sew for him, because his wardrobe is on point. I'm good with finding, I dress him like a grown man pretty much. I'm good with finding clothes for him, but I don't sew a lot for him. So I want to sew more things for him, but it is also with a goal in mind to start a sewing, or I won't even say a sewing, a little boys line. So that has been a dream that I have been holding on to for the past 2 years, specifically because I love dressing him up. And I realized the older that he was getting, the harder it was to find the like cute bow ties and suits and like dressy stuff that I love putting on him. So I decided to actually pursue this dream of just doing it, getting this business started. So I'll tell you more about that as it comes, but I'm specifically sewing more for him so I can start creating samples and like start thinking about what I want the look of the line to be. So yeah, that's exciting. That's a big goal for 2024. The next goal is more collaborations, more partnerships with brands, more opportunities, more podcasts. I would love to actually do an interview on a podcast to talk about my history in sewing, because I have kind of I've had 9 lives on YouTube. I've kind of had 9 lives with sewing. It feels like I'm in a different life of sewing, because when I first started sewing, the culture was so different. It wasn't like an Instagram thing. It was and I know Facebook groups still exist, but it was all of us were on YouTube and Facebook, Facebook groups, and now it's Instagram, TikTok. So yeah, I would love more opportunities to share who I am and to share my gift with the world in ways that are sustainable for me, in ways that are lucrative as well, and in ways that are just meaningful with the right people and the right brands. So the next goal is to do movie inspired sewing series for this year. Now, this is left field. Y'all were probably like, what? Where did this come from? So the reason I say this is because if you've been watching my videos, you know I'm currently working on my Color Purple sewing series, which is inspired by the movie The Color Purple. And I realized the more and more I come across great TV shows, great movies, the more I'm like, I should do a sewing series based off this. So that's where that came from, because I was honestly watching one of my favorite shows right now, Black Cake. If you have not watched it, please go watch it. And I tend to watch shows where the fashion is just chef's kiss. And I saw the show, I was just like, you know what? After this Color Purple series, it might be Black Cake next. So I'm giving you my secrets, you guys. But yeah, that's actually a goal of mine. I said, you know what? Instead of just making random pieces, why not do collections all year long? Wouldn't that be bomb? So yeah, that's that's where I am with that. It is a goal. So we will see how it goes. Yeah, and just incorporating those staples within the collections, because I know I tend to make statement pieces. So yeah, creating staples within collections. So yeah, that is my 9th goal, I believe. And my last goal is to finally have an official sewing studio. So this requires moving. This year, I have been proclaiming, I have been saying it as if it is so, that we are finally going to move into a new house by the end of the year. And in that new house, I have to have a dedicated sewing space. Right now, I do have a dedicated sewing space, but I want an actual huge room, even if it's the attic or the basement or somewhere where I can leave all my junk out. I don't have to worry about it being out in the open. But I still want it to be a central space where my son knows he can get to me if he needs me. Or, I'm not so closed off from the world that it's oh, she's gone forever. So yeah, that is my biggest sewing goal for sure. I believe that God can make it happen. I believe that it can definitely come to pass. I just have to have the faith and do the works to get it done. So we will see how that goes. Hopefully by next January, I'll be in my new sewing space. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed these sewing goals. I hope they inspired you to think about your own goals within sewing. And most of all, I think it is good to remember that as long as you're sewing, you're doing more than enough. We all have these goals. We create these goals for ourselves. But the one thing I can say I have consistently done, no matter where I am in the world, because I've been all over, no matter what's going on in my life, no matter anything, sewing has been my constant. I have never stopped sewing since I started. And if you can continue to sew, then half of the work is done. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please, in the comments, tell me at least one of your sewing goals for 2024. Do not forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, because I'll be coming with more and more videos. And until next time, peace.